Welcome along to your weekly GAA show, Lauren Páirce here on WLR, with thanks to PwC Waterford. Tomas McCarthy here till 7 o'clock. Coming up on a jam-packed show, two-time All-Ireland winner Brendan Cummins will chat about the National Hurling League, four-time Daisha All-Star Michael Brick Welsh on life after inter-county hurling, Tony Ryan from the Dungarvan Observer will preview Waterford Wexford in Division 4. We have two pairs of passes to give away. Barry Dunn will tell us about the upcoming South East Coaching Workshop, and Shona Curran on Waterford vs Kilkenny in round 2 of the National Camogie League. So the Waterford hurlers are flying high in Division 1A after back-to-back wins over Cork and Westmeath, and to discuss the big talking points of the league so far, delighted to be joined on the line by Brendan Cummins, two-time All-Ireland winner with Tipperary. And Brendan, I know it's early days yet, but from what you've seen so far, what impact has Liam Cahill made on this Waterford team?
I think it has to be said he's made a big impact. I mean, the statement was couldn't be made clearer in Welsh Park when you found yourself after 3.5 minutes, 2 goals down, and the Waterford crowd were starting to go, oh, here we go again, you know. And I wonder now, is there any change? But the players, what I liked was that Stephen O'Keefe flicked the ball out the net like nothing was after happening, looked out the pitch and thought, we have a way of playing here now and we're just going to keep sticking to the plan. And they did, and they found themselves coming back into the game through sheer hard work and effort. And I think that's been the big transformation I've seen in Liam Cahill, is that he's gotten the lads playing for them, for each other. And it doesn't really matter then after that, I suppose, because you're always going to get honesty of effort. And as we all know, Waterford have a strong enough team that, you know, if all things being equal, and work harder than the opponents, and they have a great chance of winning matches, and that's where it was against Cork.
Yeah, do you think Waterford could benefit from a long run in the league, Brendan, considering the last 2 summers have gone?
Well, they can. I mean, last year they said like the Waterford, based on their league performances, would have been getting out of Munster, but we all saw the way that went pear-shaped after the Clare game. So I think really what Liam is trying to do is develop a style of play, get confidence into these players and a belief in that we're going the right direction. I think so far in the league he's done that. However far that takes in the league, it's not the end of the world for Waterford or really any team in the league, whether they win it or lose it. But I think they've made great strides forward, and as well I work with Aviva down around Waterford, and I'm hearing an awful lot of good things, a lot of positivity. So if I'm a player talking to a supporter now on the street, I'm no longer ducking and diving to try not to meet him. I don't mind meeting supporters now as a Waterford player, and they're filling the players with confidence that you're going the right direction. Great win against Cork. So look, let the league take it as far as it goes. More tests coming, of course. Galway and Tipperary will obviously be big tests for Waterford, but they're robust enough now and have a confidence, I think, that, you know, there's a bit of belief coming through those players, and that's huge strides for Liam Cahill and his management team, and I suppose that's a very positive box ticked.
And like, Brendan, you soldiered with Liam Cahill for many years with Tip. Like, what type of character was he to play alongside?
He was very straight. I mean, he was very hard on himself, I think, is the first thing. I mean, Liam Cahill, if he made a mistake, was banging the hurley off the ground and all this kind of stuff. And he had huge expectations of himself, and he delivered more often than not. Remember, he got the All-Star. I think it was in '96 when he got his All-Star, you know. So he was always very, very committed to the cause. But as a manager, I mean, the impact he had on the Tip under-20s, if you think about it, they lost the All-Ireland, or lost the Munster final, were hammered by Cork below in Cork. It looked like Tip were wasting their time until they met Cork and Limerick 2 or 3 months later, and he'd completely transformed the aggression of the team, is I think what struck all of us in Tip. I mean, we know we have nice hurlers in Tip, but he absolutely got those guys out of their minds looking to win the match and blew Cork away in that game, you know, and then doubled down the following year. So, I mean, he knows how to get the job done. He knows how to get to players. And I suppose he also has the challenge of, can you do it with a senior group? It's okay doing it with underage. So he's very driven. And I think we're seeing that from him. And he's not going mad up and down the line. He's very cool and measured in the way he goes about things. I know a few of the lads he has in his backroom team as well, like Michael Beavens, would be very, very good. So all in all, Waterford have got a very good package and a management setup. So I think the message to the players is it's over to you now to deliver, and so far they have.
Yeah, they sure have. Like, Stephen Bennett has been shooting the lights out, and we saw Billy Nolan the last day, Brendan, scoring from his own 21-yard line. It was an amazing score, 130 yards out. Mark Fanning did it as well for Wexford. Do you think we'll see more and more of that from inter-county keepers as the year goes on?
Well, it's not that long ago Stephen O'Keefe scored a point in the championship against Limerick as well.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
yeah.
I mean, we are starting to see a bit more of that going on. I think there's a little bit of the fact that the ball is so light. That's an argument for another day. But yeah, it is, because teams now are kind of sitting back when the opposition have the ball inside their own 45 or 30 out of their own goal. And certainly if you have a keeper who can come out and receive a pass, and at this level, let's be honest, the ball will always be right to the keeper, so there's no fear that it's huge high risk stuff. And if they get a chance, they'll open their shoulders and certainly pot it. So, yeah, we are starting to see it evolve. I mean, Murphy in the goals for Owen for Kilkenny has been hitting frees with the last 2 or 3 years, keeping Kilkenny in matches, if the truth be known. So I think other goalies and other management setups are looking at goalies saying, well, look, if they sit back, give it to the fellow and hit it the furthest and most accurate and give him a swing at it, and it's certainly working. Yeah.
Did you ever manage to score from play yourself, Brendan, with Club or County?
Yeah, I've scored a couple of points all right from play with the club all right, and not coming out with Tipperary now. They were the good old days when a goalie was a goalie. Nowadays you have to have scored at least 2 or 3 points coming off before you're seen as having done your job. Got to be with the days from saving the ball and poking it out somewhere right was the criteria for a good goalie.
Yeah.
But no, they're evolving the game, and that's just, I mean, that's the thing, with goalkeeping. I think it's evolving all the time, and Nash, Nash has done it, Stephen O'Keefe's doing it, Billy Nolan is doing it now. All these lads are constantly trying to get better, and managers are trying to win matches. So every piece of your armoury is used, and we're certainly seeing it now in the league so far.
Yeah, like since you retired from Intercounty, Brendan, in 2013, what are the big advancements you've seen in goalkeeping?
Well, I suppose it's that piece where the strategy of games has changed an awful lot. It was starting to evolve in 08 and 09 when we had it under Eamon O'Shea, but certainly now it's been watched even more and more that the ball is to be hit. Certain plays are being set up from puck outs, like you'd seen early in rugby on a set piece. So all that stuff is happening. But I think the fundamentals are pretty much still the same, to be honest with you. Goalies are coming out, they're getting more. I suppose they're given more freedom now, we'll say, to do things, because, like I said, when Nash started to come out, other goalies are going, well, I can come out now, and it's given them more freedom to play. So the sweeper keeper is definitely something that is as part of the game and will evolve as it goes along. But for me, my goalkeeper, their top priority is to be able to stop the ball and puck the ball out to where it needs to go, and anything after that is a bonus. I certainly am very anxious at times when I see goalies taking on corner forwards and trying to go around them and things like that, and they're normally punished more often than not. But other than that, I think goalkeeping has gone to another level, to be fair, and more power to the lads driving it on.
Yeah, looking at your native county, Brendan, Liam Sheedy has suffered 2 defeats so far. What will he have taken out of those games against Limerick and Cork?
Well, he's taken that Paddy Cahill is up to it. It didn't really go magic for Paddy the night he played around the middle of the field against Limerick, but certainly wing back against Cork the last day. Was very good. He's Mark Keogh is another one. Jake Morris is starting to get a little bit more comfortable in himself. John McGrath, centre forward, has been huge for Tipperary, and especially against Cork. So he's picking up a few players along the way like that I suppose have changed a position or are new to it all, and they're building. But Tipperary, I think, are in the position where maybe Limerick are, in that they pretty much know their best 18 or 19 players, and they know in the White Heat, the championship, that they'll perform. Now the question is, can you find 5 more to put pressure on them, and then 5 more on top of that to put pressure on the lads trying to get into the panel? And I think that's what Liam is trying to do. It hasn't been easy, because when you start losing matches, obviously everyone gets a bit upset about that from supporters, but they haven't lost by a lot. I mean, 10 points up against Limerick, it just turned maybe a bit of fatigue, and Limerick had that extra bit more quality on the pitch in Hegarty, we'll say, and Donohoe and all, and Flanagan when he came on, and they did really well. And Cork the last day were all out trying to beat Tipp, and Tipp still had 5 or 6 more to come in. So overall, we'd like to win the next round of the league. The Waterford game will be a big game now, I think, for Tipperary, considering we play in the first round of the championship.
Yeah, and it certainly will. And I know it's still only early February, Brendan, but do you think that Tipperary and Limerick still have the 2 strongest squads when you look around the country?
I would think so, yeah. I mean, they're the ones that you know what they have. Like, I mean, Tipperary could sit down today and pick their championship team and be confident. The same with Limerick, that will be enough, right? Now, they will have to find others because it's a marathon, really, and then the way the championship is structured. So I think Limerick are the same, where you take Waterford, Wexford fairly much know what they have. Waterford and Galway are certainly the two that are trying to find players, frantically find extra energy, confidence, find whatever they can to get more robust for when the championship starts. But again, it's like everything else. This time last year, you'd have said Limerick, are just going to win the All-Ireland. But they woke up one morning in the end of July and got caught by Kilkenny, who were better than them on the day. So hurling is that amazing thing that, every team will look like their favourites going in this year, but there's always shocks. And, every team whose fields at the moment are slightly off the curve will be planning for one of those shocks during the summer to get themselves further down the road to win the All-Ireland.
And just a final question for you, Brendan. I suppose a big topic at the moment has been the sin bin. John Kiley has come out against it, so too has Liam Cahill. What would be your view on it coming into the hurling championship this summer?
Well, my view is strong, and I don't think it's going to work. I can see where the argument is coming for it, but I just think it's open too much to interpretation on it. So I just don't think it can happen in our game. There are the cynical fouls, we'll call it. I don't think it's a blight across the game. Talking to players, certainly they're not saying to me, look, Brendan, you better get on the telly there and tell them all we need to get in this black card. I'm hearing none of that, only eyes rolling going, will you stop and leave the game alone? I'm certainly in that at the moment. I wouldn't be a dinosaur to change, but I don't think change for the sake of change is needed. So I'm happy enough the way our game is. I think it's really healthy. I think in hurling, the top 6-7 teams all have a chance in All-Ireland, and I think that's a great place for our game to be in. And we have a tiered structure with Joe McDonough alone. We'll call it the weaker counties trying to get up into that top table, so they have a platform to play against equal strength teams as well. So I think overall the game is in a really healthy place, so I don't see a need for change in the rules, certainly around the way it's being played.
Well, Brendan, thanks a million for taking the call this evening, and we'll catch up with you again later in the year.
We will, absolutely, no problem at all.
Brendan Cummins will take this free, just inside his own 45-metre line. Oh, it's a huge one. Oh, it's over the bar. His first ever point in championship hurling. What a day to do it.
We love Waterford. We are WLR.
Well, earlier this week, four-time Daisha All-Star Michael Welsh was speaking to Oisín Langan ahead of the Electric Ireland Higher Education Féile Weekend, which plays host to the Electric Ireland Fitzgibbon Cup semi-finals. And Oisín asked him firstly about whether it's strange to no longer be a Waterford hurler.
Yeah, look, you'd miss it all right, but you've plenty to do at home, so there's no fear in terms of free time or anything like that. But look, it's different to be looking on from the outside, and I suppose not being part of the set-up and the players and the camaraderie that brings, you'll miss that. And I suppose you don't know what's happening on the inside either a little bit, so you're wondering what the team is going to be and who's playing and who's going well, and you don't know. And I suppose that brings its own excitement, but I'm looking forward to being a supporter in 2020.
Is that a strange one? Because people probably presume you still know everything that's going on and you're talking to the lads every day and you have a hotline. Do people kind of believe you when you say, well, actually, I'm not sure what's going on. I'm like you now. I'm on the outside.
Yeah, I don't really know, but from my own point of view, you don't want to be like. Obviously, I was very friendly with the lads, but I suppose things change. You're not with them as 3 or 4 days a week, and I don't want to be seen to be looking for news either. You want to leave them, because essentially I'm an outsider now, and I was always trying to, when I was a player, trying to keep things in-house, so you don't want to be I suppose doing the opposite then, trying to get leaked information as such, even though look, the days of that has gone to a degree. But from my own point of view, I just want to, I suppose, support the lads and not to put them in any awkward positions in terms of asking them any awkward questions.
They've had a good start. How necessary was that, given I suppose the dark cloud that had been hovering above the team?
Yeah, look, it was hugely important, and look, I know they've had a very good pre-season training and things like that, and they've been going well, and I suppose the Cork game was very encouraging. But look, it is only January that game, and they've bigger tests ahead. They got over Westmeath, which would have been a tricky one going up there. There's nothing easy in any of those games, and they've bigger tests ahead. But look, you're hoping, I suppose, they'll get on a run, and winning breeds winning. So they've two from two now, which is a nice way to be. You'd prefer to have 2-1 than anything, and they have the points on the board, which is a fantastic start.
I appreciate you didn't get to see the game against Westmeath, but you did watch the game against Cork. What impressed you? What were the positive signs?
I'd have to say, like, the work rate and the work ethic of the team was very pleasing, and they showed a lot of pace as well. Welsh Park is tricky this time of the year, even though the pitch was in good condition for Welsh Park, but it would have been like, what was very pleasing, they were off to a very poor start, and I suppose a lot of people weren't very positive about the Waterford team going into that, but they kept going, and they never gave up. And to be fair to them, while the scoreboard didn't show it, they won it reasonably well in the end. Obviously the goal in the last minute tightened it up a bit, but I was very impressed with them. But again, I suppose it's tempered out with the fact that it is January, and they have a long ways to go. But it's pleasing at the start. I'm sure Liam Cahill would be very happy with that.
And he has an abundance of talent to work with. Some of it is very young, maybe some of it's a bit raw, but there is talent there.
Yeah, and in fairness, he seems to be giving fellas a go, like, you know what I mean, which is important. You need to. There's no point being there in May, June, and wondering what kind of a panel I have, or what way is this fella picked, or what way will this fella be when he's thrown into the heat of battle. So he can see that, and he's making slight changes here and there as he goes. Even for the Westmeath game, he had a few changes, which is important. You need to do that, and you need to see what's available to you. And look, as I said, it's very positive from the outset.
We are blue and white. We are WLR.